Yo, what's going up, guys? In today's video, we are going to be breaking down the 300% damage anointment. There is already some misinformation about this anointment in the community that I will be clearing up in this video. This is also one of the most powerful, if not the most powerful anointment on any character. And I'm going to explain why as well, but it is actually only good with certain guns and certain gear in the right builds. That's also what I'm going to be explaining to you guys today. You can actually also crit swap with this anointment. Well, not crit swap, but anointment swap, which I'm going to be showing in this video. There's a ton to break down. There's a lot to learn, so pay attention. Let's get straight into it. The first thing I have to say before this video starts, of course, I'm going to tell you guys to like and subscribe, but that's not what I want to say today. Today, I want to give a shout out and thank you to the entire Borderlands math community. There is a whole community that a lot of you don't even know about of people who just test this game. One of them specifically is Prismatic, who tested this anointment with me. And when I say he tested this anointment with me, I mean he tested the anointment while I talked to him. So thank you, Prismatic, for helping me and my entire audience understanding how this anointment works. So let's get straight into it. Let's hop into the game. I am actually right outside of Agonizer. Basically, let's just show this anointment on the weapon card. So basically it says gain 300% increased weapon damage against enemies above 90% health. Now, I have trained you guys to look out for this word weapon damage because weapon damage is normally additive with other skills that have weapon damage or gun damage, like Synchronicity and Donnybrook, or Violent Momentum. Now, this is actually not weapon damage. This is what a lot of the math community calls V2. Geez, I hope it's V2 and not V1. But this is basically not weapon damage. So this is additive with skills like Amara's personal space. This is additive with weapon-specific bonuses on class mods. And yeah, so that is very strong, as you guys know, because I always talk about why weapon damage anointments aren't good on Zane because they're additive with other gun damage. This normally boosts your overall damage no matter what Vault Hunter you're playing on. One other thing this is actually additive with is Deadeye. So this is not multiplicative with Deadeye. Deadeye is also V2, just so you Flak players know. I had some questions about that too. Now let's actually clear up some of the misinformation. Basically, the claim is that enemies who don't have red health bars, this anointment will always be active. This anointment only applies to red health bars. Now that is kind of true, and it's also not true in the way people are putting it. People are saying this anointment is always active against Agonizer and Wotan. People were telling me this all day, and I tested it against both of them, and that is just not true. I tested it against Wotan. I will actually be leaving a Wotan clip in the pinned comment just to show you guys I did test this against Wotan. Now here we are at Agonizer. Let's just shoot. You guys can clearly see it's 21k. However, let me open up photo mode. So 21k damage. This is on Mayhem 0 with no Guardian rank. I'm going to show that as well. So we are doing 21k damage. He's clearly at full health. By the way, here is our skill tree. We have no damage in our skill tree. I actually wanted to get to See in Red and Salvation. It helps me run through some of these maps sometimes when you're getting nuked by rocket launchers. But I have no weapon damage in this tree, no skill points in this tree. We're not using Violent Momentum. And yeah, so here's our Guardian rank, completely empty. Mayhem mode is off. So real quick again, guys, he is at full health. We're doing 21k damage. So that is, this anointment is active, basically. Now, all we have to do is get him real low. Just pay attention to our damage numbers as we are killing him. Oh, don't die yet. Okay, well, you guys might have saw, and you guys might say, hey, wait a minute. I saw 21k when you were killing Agonizer. That's right. This anointment is always active against Agonizer's armor. And let me tell you guys why. Because this purple iridium is Agonizer's base health bar. So let me show you guys exactly what I mean. We're going to shoot it once, and we have 72k damage. So our anointment is active because his purple health bar is full. 72k damage. All right, now he's clearly below half. Let's shoot him again. 18k damage. So 18k damage plus 300% damage is 72k damage. This purple health bar is actually Agonizer's base health bar, so that's why his full armor bar is getting this anointment. It's actually kind of a funny reason. When Prismatic told me this, I actually started laughing because I had no clue about this either. So this isn't like some misinformation that someone messed up. This isn't a very obvious thing. Now, I do want to say I tested this against Wotan as well. I tested this against the loaders in DLC 1, and the base bar is their health bar. If they are a full armor enemy, once you damage them by 10%, this anointment is not active anymore. So this anointment is not always active against armor bars. This anointment is not always active against shield bars. How this anointment works is you have to deal 90% damage to their base health bar. So that goes the same for zealots or Maliwan enemies who have a health bar and a shield bar. You have to get rid of their shield bar and damage their health bar by 10% to activate this anointment. And that is pretty much how it works in that case. Now, I do want to explain this anointment even more when it comes to when this anointment is best. There are actually very key circumstances where this anointment is better than others. So I'm going to play some background footage. I'm going to actually pull up my notes so you guys have a visual for what I'm talking about. And let's go over each section. So like I said, this is actually 300% what is called V2 damage. This is the same as weapon specific bonuses. So 30% shotgun damage, SMG damage, assault rifle damage on your class mod and artifact. That stuff is V2. Now, this is actually classified as V2 because this is checked when your bullet hits the enemy. This is not calculated on shot. And that is pretty important. It basically the game checks your V2 stat bonuses when it hits the target. And that makes sense for this anointment because it has to calculate the target's base health bar before it applies the damage. So hopefully you guys kept up with that. Let's just move on. If you didn't understand, go back and listen again. I'm sorry, it is kind of confusing. Anyways, this anointment works best with one pellet weapons. So multi-pellet weapons like shotguns, like the Stagecoach, will not work properly with this anointment. And this is very similar to Overkill. So this weapon is actually this anointment is very good with Overkill. And let me kind of explain that for a second. So the game will often show multi-pellet weapons like shotguns. It'll show one damage value, but it's actually calculating them all separately. Now, I actually figured this out against certain boss fights. In a Wotan speed kill I'll be linking, we actually figured out you had to deplete Wotan's full shield in one pellet. And it works the same with Overkill. I will also be linking a link to how Overkill works. It is a Gearbox Forums post by Doc Strangelove, another person in the Borderlands 3 math community. And yeah, so just keep in mind this anointment works best with one pellet. And yeah. Next, this will actually buff bonus elements, unlike splash damage. So generally V2 is better than splash damage when you're using bonus elements. So let me give you guys an example. Let's say we're using a Kibsworth and a short fuse Moze build. We probably have splash damage on our artifact or on our class mod, right? Well, if you are using a Kibsworth with the next two bonus magazines anointment, that anointment does not actually get the 30% splash bonus where this anointment will. So it's pretty simple. Let's keep going. One other cool thing about V2 is it actually works with melee plus dot damage. We're actually going to show you guys live it working with dot damage. This is actually very similar to the driver class mod. A lot of you guys who played the driver class mod before they took the dot damage and the melee away, so you guys kind of had to play the game when this came out, but that's why the driver would increase your dot damage while you were running faster, and it would also increase your melee if you're running faster because the driver was V2, and they actually changed it to become weapon damage. And finally, the fact that it was V2 comes into this V2 swap. So we're going to hop back into the game. Let's get rid of our notepad. This anointment, you can actually kind of crit swap it. Now you're not crit swapping because there's no crit involved, but for example, I'm gonna shoot with this Cutsman and I'm gonna swap before the projectiles hit and they get this anointment. And that's because it's V2. And now for those of you who played Driver with Amara, remember what I said about Driver scaling your damage differently? Like, you know how you would apply a dot to an enemy? So let's do this real quick. So as you can see, this Cutsman does 3,400 damage, and that is a dot that's applied to it above. That does about 2,500 damage. I'll show you guys that this is a dot. So see how we're still dot ticking. So the dot damage is 2,500. The Cutsman damage is about 3,500. Now we are going to shoot the Cutsman back at him and swap weapons. Now let's go back into photo mode. We have a lot of weapons there. So you guys, or a lot of damage numbers there. So you guys see the 3,400. That is from before I swapped. But as you guys can see these, just all these numbers all over the place. The anointment is actually applying to the Cutsman, which is kind of insane. Now look up here at 2,400 dot damage. That was before we swapped. And then we get 10K. I'm going to show you this boosts the dot as well. 10K, 10K, 10K. So like I said, this is very similar to Amara's Driver class mod before they nerfed it. For those of you who got to play with it, and that is because we applied the dot before we swapped. And yeah, so this is a very, very cool anointment. This is actually going to be insane in an overkill build I am posting. Hopefully in the next week. I have to farm for a brand new Nukem with this anointment. It is very insane. And yeah, so if this video was informative to you guys in any way, please drop a like on it. Subscribe to the channel if you want to see more. Once again, thank you and shout out to Priz. He tested with this anointment a lot. I did talk to him. Hey, listen, I tossed in a couple ideas. You can ask Priz. I helped him work through this. Just kidding. But he seriously did a lot of the testing and most of the legwork. So thank you to Priz. And yeah, the rest of the Borderlands 3 math community. Anyways, guys, that is it for the video. I'll see you in the next one. I'm out.